Hello, hello everyone. Welcome in. Welcome in to True North Tuesday. Just waiting for a few more people to come in. How's everybody doing today? Whether you're watching me live or you're watching this on the replay, welcome in. I'm so glad you're here. It's a new month, and a new month at the Inner Compass means a new curriculum. I am an old school teacher who, after retirement, decided to go into what I'm doing now. And I've always been somebody who loved developing curriculum. I remember my cousin told me I was a nerd. She was a principal. I was a principal too eventually, but she used to tell me that I was a nerd because I like to do that. But it's not just about developing curriculum for me. It is definitely about learning. It's definitely about learning. Hi, Sherry. Welcome in. I'm so glad you're here. But yeah, I've always been a person who loves to develop learning. And also for me, I've always loved learning. And if you have watched me before or any of my content, you will hear me say a day without learning is a day not worth living. And then I always follow it up with, and also a day without laughter is a day not worth living also. So I have a question that is in the chat already for people. What questions do you have for this month's learning about frequency, vibration, healing, and the nervous system? So is there any questions that you have? Even if you're watching this on the replay, ask questions, because this entire month is going to be about living in resonance, which means frequency, vibration. I'm going to introduce you to vibroacoustic therapy for those of you who haven't experienced it yet or haven't heard of it. It's something I offer in my practice. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And please, this is your time to interact, ask questions. I'm so excited for people to be here. So I'm just going to put this question up on the screen. This is my question that I started the live with today. See, I'm always learning, and I'm learning how to use StreamYard every single time I'm on it. So again, welcome everyone. Welcome to True North Tuesday. And this month we are exploring what it means to live in resonance. How often have you heard people say, "Oh, I resonate with that"? Have you ever heard somebody say that? And I'm wondering, do they understand what that means? If you resonate with something, it actually has to do with your frequency. Your frequency is matching whatever it is you're resonating with. So we're going to be exploring that this month. Last month, we spent time asking what happens when we become calm enough to hear ourselves again. All that brain-heart connection. We did a lot of investigation into the Heart Math Institute and heart coherence, and we're just going to build on that this month. So if you're new here, welcome. I work with women in the second half of their life who are learning to trust themselves again, to reconnect with their inner wisdom, and to create a life that feels true to who they are. So if that interests you, you can certainly go to my webpage and learn more about what I do. So this month we're asking a different question. So once we have found ourselves, what frequency are we choosing to live from? Now, before anyone gets nervous, today isn't about mystical claims, and it's not about proving anything. It is simply about becoming curious. And I just noticed that somebody added something to the chat. I notice when my nervous system is off, I feel sick to my stomach. I've really been working on good frequency and feeling good. Thank you for sharing that. I woke up this morning with something in my tummy too. I couldn't decide if it was something going on with my intuition or if I really was having tummy troubles. I took medication and it seemed to help, but I'm wondering if there's something coming for me. I hate to say that. I didn't have such great dreams last night, and I worry that one of them may be coming true. So I hope not. But yeah, listening to your body. Last month was about listening to your body. We're going to continue that this month, but we're going to add that piece of frequency, energy, vibration, all that good stuff. So this month, again, we're going to simply be curious. I'm not asking you to believe anything. I'm not asking you to change your belief system. I'm just asking you to be curious, because when you start looking around, you begin to notice something remarkable, that everything, and I mean everything, has a rhythm. Everything has movement. Everything has patterns, including us, you and me as human beings. So, did you realize that nature is based on rhythms? Think about nature. The ocean doesn't randomly crash into the shore. It moves in waves, repeated waves. The moon follows a particular cycle. The seasons come around at the same time every year. It's a pattern, it's a rhythm. Birds migrate. They know when to do that because they follow a pattern. They're following a rhythm. Flowers bloom. Our lungs breathe and our heart beats. Nature isn't chaotic. It's rhythmic. So perhaps the better question is, perhaps the better question isn't, do rhythms exist? Because obviously that answer is yes. The question I want us to think about is, how aware are we of the rhythms we are already living inside? And we are living in rhythms. So I'd love to hear from you, whether you're live with me now or you are watching the replay. Where do you feel the most in rhythm in your life? Where do you feel the most in rhythm? Are you outside or are you inside? Meaning outside in nature or inside a building? Is it when you're listening to music, you're walking, you're gardening, or sitting by water? Tell me in the comments. For me, I feel most aligned when I am quiet, when I am still. That's when I feel most attuned to myself. That's when I live in resonance. And when I don't have quiet, my central nervous system goes, and I have to figure out ways to get myself back. And I have plenty of tools to get myself back. But one of the things that really throws me off balance, and it's happened in the last few years, which is a huge change for me, is news, the news on TV. I just about crawl out of my skin when I walk into my house and my husband has the news on. And he and I were both news junkies. We watched the news. We stayed up on politics. We stayed up on the news. And something happened at the end of 2024, and now I can't handle it. So I immediately go into my bedroom and I shut everything down and I do some breathing activities, some grounding activities, because I can't live in that chaotic state. So where do you feel most in tune with your rhythm of your life? Where is it for you? For me, it's finding that quiet space. Oh, Elizabeth is here. Welcome, Elizabeth. Welcome. Sherry says, being outside in the sun makes me happy. I also love quiet time and reading and crafting, and my friends help a lot too. See how she not only named places or people, but she named specific things like sitting outside under the sun. That is a calming agent for her. Then we have the lovely Elizabeth, outside, looking at nature, or being on the water, the waves of the water and the wind blowing the trees. Yes, you are an outside girl. I try to be an outside girly, and I will sit outside. But I think I struggle more with being outside because it's not as safe and contained. When you have a disability, it's harder. But if I do have access to sitting outside, I will do it. Sherry says, the news makes me nuts. The news makes me nuts. I feel like none of it is real. I feel a lot of it's made up. But, that's just me. That is just me. I feel like a lot of it is censored. So um, let's move on to music. Music is a big thing at our house. My husband is a huge music fan, and almost every weekend he goes to see a show. But let's talk about music and how it relates to frequency and our central nervous system. So music really changes us. Have you ever noticed that one song can make you cry? Another makes you want to get up and dance? Another can instantly transport you back 20 years? I mean, all three of those questions, and I'm already thinking of three different songs. And why is that? It's because music isn't just what we hear. It changes what's happening inside of us. And there is a scientist, a neuroscientist named Daniel Levitin, and he's been spending years studying how music affects the brain. Did you know that there was somebody doing that? I didn't. That was new knowledge to me. I just kind of already knew that music changed me. So his research shows it can influence emotion, memory, attention, even stress. And I bet you think, well, duh, Laurie, I know that. But a lot of times what we know and what science backs up doesn't always align. Like a lot of times I say, well, I just know that's to be true in my heart. But now science is catching up to that and saying, yeah, that is true. That is true. So let's think about this. Nothing physically changes about you when you listen to music, but your internal experience does. And to me, that's fascinating. So what song instantly changes your mood? What's a song that instantly changes your mood? Go ahead and put it in the chat, whether you're watching live or in the replay. What song instantly changes your mood? Sherry says, I love Queen, Ozzy Osbourne, country music. She says, I'm all over the place. What's one song, though, that really changes your mood? I'm going to give you one. For me, it's the Bittersweet Symphony. It's a bittersweet symphony. You know that song? I don't know what that song, it instantly changes my mood. And then when the Seattle Seahawks picked it up in the early 2000s as their Run Onto the Field song, I just knew. I mean, I've been a lifelong fan of the Seattle Seahawks. So it's not your typical song to run out on the field, is it? No, it's not. But that song does something to me. And now there's a content creator who uses that in all of her videos. And she talks about narcissism and narcissistic behavior, and she uses that song. And there's something to that music. Another song that's really hitting me right now is Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield. The rest is still unwritten. That song also, that one revs me up, and it takes away kind of that imposter syndrome. It's like, I have the choice. I get to choose how I want my life to be, and I get to write it. It's not written for me yet. I get to write it. Sherry says, Love My Life by Queen, or Mama, I'm Coming Home by Ozzy. Oh, yeah. And you know what? When I read those, I felt both of those songs. Like Ozzy, that song by Ozzy, just, I could cry just thinking about that song right now. Elizabeth said 80s music. You know what? The people who are in the chat right now, we're all 80s girls. The Power of Snap. And she also said, I love Unwritten. I don't know The Power of Snap. I probably do, but I don't recognize it by its title. Sherry also says Vincent by Don McClellan, right? You know what? I'm not sure I know that song, but I'm also going to say that I probably know by a different name. Like sometimes you make up names for songs, but songs are powerful. Songs are definitely powerful. Another song that's hitting me right now is Breathe, and it was originally done by Pearl Jam. Excuse me. If you were here in the beginning, I told you I'm having tummy troubles this morning, and part of that is some burps. So the song "Breathe" by Pearl Jam, but that version by Pearl Jam doesn't get me. It's the Willie Nelson song with his son Lucas that I just about every time I hear it, I start crying. I start crying. Um, so you know what? When these songs come on, it's probably not the lyrics that are affecting you. It's just because of how it makes us feel. It's the energy and the vibration that is speaking to us. We're resonating with it. Elizabeth said, oh, Titanium by David Guetta. See, another song I don't think I know, but I probably do know. Is that another 80s tune, Elizabeth? Is that another 80s tune? Again, I make up song lyrics all the time. Does anybody else do that? Like, what's the song by There's a Bathroom on the Right when it's supposed to be There's a Bad Moon on the Rise? I was a kid that sang loud and clear in the back seat the absolutely wrong lyrics, but and my sister would be like, that's not the right words. That's not the right words. So let's move on to our heart, and that our heart has its own rhythm. Continue to put in songs that change your mood. I would love to hear it, even though I probably won't recognize them. If my husband was here, he would. He knows so much about music, and he's actually thinking about doing a podcast on music after he retires. So let's talk about our heart and our heart having a rhythm. Here's another interesting piece of information. Did you know your heart doesn't beat like a metronome? You know, that it actually changes from moment to moment. Our heartbeat changes. And you'll really notice it when you're stressed. Your heart rhythm becomes more rapid when you're stressed. It often feels less organized. So it kind of, it's kind of all over the place when you're stressed. When we're calm, we become more coherent. And if you were with me last month, we talked about heart coherence and how to get your heart to be in coherence with the rest of your body. Science continues to study what all of this means. And what I find fascinating is how it affects our central nervous system, how it affects us to remain calm, and what tools can we use to remain calm. Not so our life becomes perfect and problem-free, but for us to regulate ourselves enough to live from our true authentic self. So, but here is something I find most interesting is that our bodies aren't static. They're constantly responding. They're adapting and they're changing. So that's just the heart. The body's doing that too. And you know what else is happening is that our brain also has rhythms. And I know this is going to shock you, but science calls them brain waves. Brain waves are rhythms, and they actually can now measure brain waves. Well, they've been doing it for a while, but it all relates to all these things they can now measure. They can now measure a field that extends at least 3 feet beyond our heart. They call it an electromagnetic field. I call it an aura, but it's the same type of concept. Oh, Hotel California by the Eagles is another one that just popped up on the chat. Oh, Sherry says, I call Charles, who's her husband. She calls him Dick Clark because he's so good at music. Yeah, my husband, I can say, what's that song by so-and-so? It came out, I think, like in 2001, 2002. He'll be like, oh, yeah, that was so-and-so, and it was written by so-and-so and performed by, and somebody did a cover of it. And I'll be like, okay, I don't need to know all of that. Elizabeth said, Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. Time Stands Still by Rush. My husband's a huge Rush fan. I Will Not Take These Things for Granted by Toad the Wet Sprocket. Toad the Wet Sprocket! I haven't thought about them in years. I actually was at a show not that long ago, and later that night they were playing Toad the Wet Sprocket. And I was like, you know, I haven't thought about them in a long time, but that's got to be one of the more unique names. So getting back to brainwaves, different patterns tend to be associated with different states. So think about it. When we sleep, our brain is at a different state. Different brain waves happen at that time. Deep relaxation also is a different state, different brain waves. If we have very focused attention, the brain waves are different, are measured differently, or show different. When we are thinking creatively, that also, scientists can see our brain doing that. Again, there is nothing mystical about this. This is just our biology. It's just our biology. I just had somebody in the sound lounge today who came in, and she seemed very calm. You know, I've known this woman for years. It's her first time with vibroacoustic therapy. And she seemed calm. We chit-chatted a little. You know, I know her family. She knows my family. She said, "Oh, I have, you know," I said, "What do you think you're going to experience today?" And I gave her a little spiel about what she was going to experience. She laid down, had her session, and she sat up and she said, this is a quote, "I feel like I just smoked marijuana." She goes, "And I don't think I've ever been this calm in my life." And she's like, I don't smoke. And this is what I think it feels like. And she fell asleep during her session, which means that she let go. She let go and allowed her central nervous system to calm herself. And she was definitely in that beta theta range of total relaxation. And she said, "You know, I have a doctor's appointment this afternoon that I'm very worried about. And I was concerned about it before I came in." And she said, "Now I don't care what they say, because I just know it's going to be okay." And I said, "Well, that's a huge difference between when you came in." Now, she didn't tell me she had this doctor's appointment. She didn't tell me she was anxious. She just appeared, you know, a very calm, like I normally see her. She's like, I don't want this feeling to end. It's like this kind of euphoria of, I feel totally safe, totally calm, totally centered, totally present. I feel like I'm living in the moment. And that all comes from switching the brain waves. I'm just amazed. So, you know, your body is always moving, even when you're perfectly still. So if you're sitting perfectly still right now, you're still breathing. Your blood vessels are still moving around your body. You know, your heart is still beating, and your brain is still actively working. Your whole body is still moving. So let's zoom out for just a moment and talk about nature. And nature has rhythms. We've learned that music has rhythms. Your heartbeat has rhythm. Your breathing has rhythm. Your brain has rhythm, which makes me wonder, maybe paying attention to our own rhythm isn't so strange at all. Maybe it's one of the most natural things we can do. So instead of asking, what frequency am I? Because I often hear people say, "Oh, I like to meditate at 425, or I like to do this." I think somebody's out in my waiting room. I'm expecting a little package for one of my grandchildren today. Oh, is that me, the shadow, or is that them? Well, whatever. What was I just saying? Oh, people talk about, I want to be at a certain vibration. But really, maybe the question is much simpler. Maybe asking yourself, what environments leave me feeling peaceful? So the energy of the room. Last week I was in my office just working, putting things together, organizing, and an Amazon driver came in and said, "Whoa, do you live here?" And I said, "No, this is my business." And he goes, "Whoa, this feels like somebody's home. And what do you do here?" And I did a little explanation. I don't think he was reacting to the decor, or that there was a little love seat in there, or there was a vibroacoustic bed. I think he was resonating with the feeling, and he mentioned the word home. Do you live here? This looks like somebody's home. So I just was so pleased by that reaction, because to me it said, this is a safe place for people. He came in, had no idea what I do here, and instantly picked up that energy. Hi, Debbie. Welcome. I just think that You can feel that energy. If you walk into a room and somebody's mad and upset, you feel icky. Ugh, I don't want to be here. This isn't right. But you can also walk into a space and feel like, and your central nervous system reacts and says, I am calm. I'm deeply centered. And this guy, maybe 25, 27-year-old young man said, wow, this place, wow. And again, I don't think he was commenting on the decor. I think he felt an energy that I'm so glad he picked up on. So, what people help make you feel more yourself? What people help make you feel more like yourself? For me, it's my grandchildren. When I'm around my grandchildren, I instantly feel like, everything is right in the world. Even though, they can be naughty and they can, do things that upset people. I just look at them and think, wow, you are so incredible. And, maybe it's because I spent a career of working with young people, or maybe it's just I'm really drawn to young people. But for me, being around young people, I was at Costco a couple of years ago, and I had a little girl come up to me, and she wanted to know if I was taking a trip to space today and where I was going, and if I was to live in outer space, where would I live? Now, why would this little girl ask me? I think because she knew that my soul was going to accept her into my space and make her feel safe. So what else? What activities leave me feeling energized instead of exhausted? So what activities, and I know what Sherry's going to say. Sherry's got this great activity that she does, this little crafting project, and she talks about how it really relieves her central nervous system. It calms her right down, and it helps her to focus on what she's doing. Oh, going back to another question, my sweetheart calms me instantly. He is my good guy. That was Sherry. Thank you. And Debbie just mentioned, wow, that's cool. I'm not sure. Are you talking about the Amazon delivery guy? I was just amazed by him. I think that's what you're talking about. So because those questions begin to point us towards our own natural rhythm. So in closing, as we continue through this month, we are going to explore sound, vibration, energy, and resonance. And remember, it's not to convince you of anything, but to become more curious about this incredible world we are all living in. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. What resonated with you today? Yes, Sherry said it. Diamond painting. I hear her say that often. Somebody else in our group does diamond painting. I can't remember. Was it Monica that does diamond painting? I'm not remembering. So Debbie said, The Little Girl in Space. Is that a song, or is that, I need more context because it probably went through when I was talking earlier. Diamond art, absolutely. It's Debbie. Debbie's the other diamond art girl. I'd never heard of it until I met these women, and it sounds like it's wonderful. I've seen it like at the craft stores, but I think it also requires a very steady hand, and I don't have a very steady hand. Like I didn't learn how to crochet or sew when I was little because it hurt my hands so much, and that was 30 years before I got diagnosed. So again, leave a comment below. If this conversation was helpful, be sure to subscribe or follow me, depending on which platform you are viewing today, so you don't miss next week's episode. And if you'd like to join me live every Monday, and I mean live in a Zoom, you can talk to me freely. We have Meditation Monday. Be sure to visit my website, which is www.laurielynnsee.com, and sign up for my newsletter. And we meet every Monday evening. It's 7 o'clock Central, so you can figure it out for your time zone. And we meditate, we chit-chat, we share what's going on with ourselves. We give each other advice on different things. We have people that are into woo-woo in that group and have far more knowledge in areas that I don't have. So it's a great group. Oh, Debbie said the little girl that asked you if you were going to space. Yeah, she was adorable. my husband is like, I think they just know that you are a teacher. At the time I was still a teacher, or at least I was a principal. I can't remember. Um, but I have kids that come up to me constantly. And I know I shouldn't use that word constantly, but when I am out shopping, it is highly unusual for a kid to want to interact with me. Like they either start talking to me or they start staring at me, and then I'll say hello, and then it's like the floodgates open and they start sharing the most lovely things. And this little girl, she must have known I was really into space. I'm really into space. I love outer space. And some of you know why. So sign up for my weekly newsletter. Join us for Meditation Monday. I also drop a podcast on Thursday afternoons. And my newsletter contains an article. I call it my learning portion of the week. And this week it'll all be about sound, vibration, meditation, resonance, and my new offering, which is vibroacoustic healing. I can't believe it's already 12:30. So until next time, keep listening to your inner voice. Keep trusting your inner voice. And remember, awaken, remember, and rise. So I'm going to hang out just a little while longer to see if anybody else has anything to say in the chat. But thank you. Thank you for those that joined live. And thank you for those of you who are joining us on the replay. However you can join us. I feel so blessed to have you as a part of my life. Yes, thank you, Elizabeth. What are the letters at the end of your name? I've never noticed that before. What's interesting is that I think it only shows me the YouTube people. It says that there's 3, but there's more than 3 people in this room. So I don't know, as my granddaughter would say. I don't know, Grammy. I don't know. Remain curious is what she's saying. So I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye, and I hope you have a blessed Tuesday. Love you too, Sherry.